let's start by taking a step back, right? Let's look at what is life anyway, right? What has actually happened, which we call life. So if you consider what's going on, there's a process taking place, and at some point, it starts to produce experiences, and that's the point you come to know of the process. The process had actually been going on for much longer, right? The first time you found out about it, ooh, there's some experience, whatever that was. But before that, the body had been gestating. It was an egg in your mother's womb when she was born, and then you can trace that that whole unbroken chain if you look at science, right? It's the same process. It's branching. And at some point, it starts to produce experience. That's the first you come to know of it. And so the process is not just something in the head. It's all of the seeing, the sensing, the hearing, the thinking, the feeling. All of that's going on. And you don't identify with it. You haven't done that until at some point, there's a sub-process which starts. And around that time is when your first memories start to form. That's the sub-process starting. And that sub-process is what, in the last conversation towards the end, I was calling selfing. There's no self, but there's a process of selfing. And initially, you get given a name, you get told you're a boy or a girl, you're born here, this is your religion and all that. And now the selfing process is starting to build this image of supposedly what you are. This is all taking place in that process, right? And over time, initially it's very important. This process is central to why human intelligence is so much superior to anything else we know of. It allows you to learn. It allows ways to find new relationships, to imagine new things. But eventually it becomes a burden because it's taking over the mind, right? It's like a runaway process. If all the time you're thinking about this self-image, well, what's about to happen, relationships in the world, life and goals and all that. Now this sub-process has taken over. It's like a usurper, right? Taking over the throne, like I'm the Lord here. All this is for me. But then in the process, if the question comes up, what exactly am I? Now the sham is starting to get revealed, right? Because if you look in the process, there's no possibility of finding a self there. Because there was never a you in the process. Your first point of contact was when the process starts to produce experience. And now all you have access to is the experience. And what all these this meditation practices are revealing is that there is no actual thing you could call a self in all of this, right? So all of you have seen that. You are seeing the selfing process, which is that when I look for the self, all I find is thinking, feelings. There's no actual me in there. But then you take that final step. What is my relationship to this process? The only point of contact was when it started to produce the experiences, right? And that's where you'll find the true identity. What am I? Because at that point, if that experience appears to something else, which is not you, well, then this is not you. Like that's just absurd. The experience appears to you. So you are critical. You are that point where the process is more than nothing. It becomes something. So you are that aware factor, the awareness, due to which anything can come up, due to which life can begin. And if you look at it this way, you were never born. The process began, experiences came up, but was anything created? Right? If you look within the experiences, nothing is being born. There's no self-entity. That's all the self, the path of no self, is saying there's no self entity, there's no conscious thing in all any of this. And that's what it's pointing out. If you look at experience as a whole, life as a whole, there's no self. And then you look at the other traditions, the Advaita, Vedanta, and so on. It's saying all there is the self. Because when the process appears, who does it appear to? That's not in anything that follows, and you'll never find that self there. But clearly you exist, you are. So that is the discerning factor, right? You are moving away from the selfing process, which is a sub-process going on, saying this is the image, this is what you are. You pulling back, and now, yeah, there's no such self, but then here you are. All right, let's go into a conversation. Who would like to begin? Yes, Neil.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Nabil.
Morning.
Good morning. The thing that I find is what you're saying is that I get the self, the awareness of being, and I get that. It's obviously that is me. That is fundamentally me. And I guess the more I continue down this path, or whatever you want to call it, this understanding, that is very, very real to me. But as you're talking about the usurper, the person, the personality, as much as I understand that I am that thing, there's still like a residual thing that I carry around that still believes it's that person, it's that personality, that character that I've built up over all my life. And that, like I say, there's the understanding, absolutely, it's there, you know, it's with the help of your videos and other stuff that I've read and other things that I've done. I know that's me. I know that's true me. That's the true I. But there's almost like he won't go away. The guy I grew up with, the personality that I was, is still, he follows me around. He won't go away. And maybe I shouldn't want him to go away totally. But it's almost like, is there a point that you get to where it's just like, no, that's me, that's the end of it, that's that, I'm totally that, that's me, and I'm
Yeah, so I mean, what you're talking about is just that the sub process, we calling it the selfing process, is still going on, right? And that will, for most cases, that will continue to go on. There's very rare occasions in human history that you can remain functional and that process has stopped. Okay? It stops, even if it jitters, and it stops for a few fractions, I don't know, about less than a second. You've got the answer, done, finished. And then the process, if it continues, it's not a problem. Because it's like, you know that is not you, right? It's just thinking. It's ways of thinking, ways of acting in the world, which is you experiencing the process. You're experiencing the process. In it, there is an identifier required for this body, its relationships, and so on. We don't want to cut that. That's not required, right? And so what? But you know what you are. right? So you can have synonyms, and we never get confused as long as the sentence makes sense. We know what the word means. So I can mean I, actual I, or it can be used flippantly by the thinking process, but as soon as it's used in that way, that's not you.
Mm.
It's just the confusion is still within that process. The selfing process is trying to overreach. It's trying to say, okay, maybe I should rewrite my code and think differently and so on. But that's not the point, right? Because you have always been there from the first moment, and you will witness that last moment for this process to end or branch off and so on. And you have not changed. It's not possible for what is not in part of the process to change. And all these thoughts of what might happen, and there might be more clarity and so on. It sparks in that track, which is what you're experiencing.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
But
We could go on.
when you listen to all this, that's also starting off these processes, and they're clearing up the house. And fine, eventually it's very clear when there's a thought about me and this I need to do or what not. That's just a way of thinking, a way of the brain processing what needs to happen and so on. But you remain as the awareness.
I was listening to one of your videos on the Ashtavakra Gita one, and it says your duty, your function is to only be aware, which I thought was just like that's just that's a statement. That's a statement. That's an amazing statement in itself.
Because you look at anything in the universe.
Period. That's it. And do you see it that way too, Nabil? Do you see it as that's all I need to do? That's just be aware, be what I am.
Yes. It's not even you need to do it. It's like you look at anything, even in the world, right? Electrons are electrons. You cannot take the negative charge and say that's still an electron. Clouds are clouds. If it's not a cloud, it's not a cloud. And you are awareness, right? So you cannot stop being aware or be more aware or be less aware or be something else. Everything, even in the world we experience, it has a quality which is inseparable from that thing. The sky is not the sky if you take out certain quality, right? That is the sky. And you are you. It's as simple as that. I am I am. Like in the end, it's just, that is your quality. You are aware. And that is your duty. And you cannot do it any better or worse. Whenever an experience takes place, it is rendered in perfection, reflecting whatever the process is taking place. You and I have to wear glasses. That's not a deficiency of awareness. It is reflecting the process going on in this body. There's an issue with the eyes, and then that is reflected in the experience. But the awareness is always rendering the experience perfectly, consuming zero energy. All the energy is quantifiable. It's taking place in the body and all that. But where awareness does not use any additional energy. It's just like the completely out of context, but it's undeniable and undeniably you.
So it's just a case, really, of I think the word surrender is often used in these circles, or that you are surrendered. That the surrender.
Who do you think would surrender in that case? Who would surrender? Or what would surrender?
Yeah.
It would be the sub-process. That selfing process has to surrender. It can still do its job. Its job is to still do the selfing, but it acknowledges who the Lord is. And that's not me. It's not the egotistical me. That one surrenders.
But then it's accepting that you are that awareness, and you are that being, and that in itself is the art. It seems to me that's the answer that you just have to keep saying yes to. It's just yes, 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 yes. It is. There's no the conflict between the old personality and the real you. It's just that case of just keep there. It is. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Sakina, you have your hand up. I can't hear you yet.
Sorry. So
Yeah, go ahead.
at this point, when the understanding comes through, selfing continues always in life because it's a part of functioning of this body mind. But the little self, the me is gone, or it still continues to identify with the body mind.
So there never was a me, right? Because for there to be an actual me in that process we just talked about, there would have to be some entity that was created, right? Even if it's a mini me, you need something to get born. It needs to be able to think, it needs to be able to act. But that never happened, right? All that happened was experience started. In the experience, there was this complex, interconnected thinking belief system, right? But when you look at it that way, it's not even, you can't call it me. It's not an entity. It's not a mini version of you. It's just a process, right? It's like you can't call, I don't know, I can't call my circulatory system in this body something like, and it's not an entity. It's just a system. A nervous system is working.
So it's just the process just continues.
So what happens to the process can differ, right? And there are extreme cases, like let's say in if you take Sri Ramana Maharshi, it seems like the process completely stopped for a significant period of time. That's when he was lying in a cave, catatonic, and his body was withering away. And only because for devotee who's before he became famous or anything, because in India they have the tradition of these kind of sages, someone took care of him, right? And that's how he survived. And then it's in some kind of level, the selfing process has to return for him to wake up from that catatonic state. His mind may be very quiet, and he is perfectly clear on what the self is. But now there is some level of thought, some level of acting in the world going on. And that's what I call, it's part of the process. It's required for higher thought, for speech, right? Otherwise you can't utter a word. And so there are extreme cases, but that is not the goal. And that case is only there for us, as that case itself becomes the pointer to make you look at this life, whatever may be happening in it. So the expectation shouldn't be to just kill off that selfing process, right? We found there's nothing to kill. There is no such thing as a me. There's no such thing as a conscious entity. Nothing was ever born.
Exactly. So from the very beginning, there has been no separation. There is no separation. There is only just what is.
No separation is possible because nothing gets born.
Yeah.
All the process can ever do is create experience, but it cannot create consciousness, as in it
Right.
cannot create a conscious entity. And so you cannot have many people in a world suffering in their own little lives and then, you know, seeking out salvation and all that. That whole concept falls apart because that was the sub-process, the selfing process had created this image. And then the question was still there, who was born? What will happen when I end? And it was then looking up without understanding what was there is so intimate. That is the self. That is awareness. Yeah. But because of all the dualities which were created in that process, there was like almost a physical barrier put up between life and before life and after life. Sentience and insentience, awareness, consciousness and unconsciousness, and existence and inexistence. And that's why most of the work we do is picking apart those dualities, because those are how the selfing process keeps remaining confused. When you see there has never been any separation, what used to be void and death and all that, now it's all, oh no, that is the self, that is who I am. And the selfing process, which maybe used to look up to a god or a reality, higher power, now it knows, now it's as intimate as how Rumi describes it, right?
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadir.
Yeah, just following up on this. So it seems like the relationship between the I and the sub-process is, I mean, the way the I, like Sri Ramana Maharshi, coming back, waking up, I think that, is it the desire, specifically the love, that makes awareness so, like, I mean, for the lack of better word, give attention to the sub-process, and that sub-process is less. I mean, you come back because of desire or love, specifically to that. I mean, in the case of Ramana Maharshi, let's say, but generally also, right? Otherwise, if you don't give it attention, you don't have a desire, but it's still, yeah, like how is the you see what I'm trying to say? Like, what is it that the relationship between the two? I mean, there's no two, it's just you still come back to the self, you're selfing, as you're saying. What causes that pure awareness, let's say, to come to continue that process is desire, right?
No, it's not desire. So awareness, so first of all, the relationship is what? There is the fundamental basis for experience, that is awareness. But awareness never says no to anything, right? Awareness is whatever the process meets the criteria for an experience to arise, that experience will arise. Something in the process might say no, oh, I don't want to feel this pain. That's part of the process. But awareness does not say no, this experience is too bad, let's not turn it into experience. There's no such entity. That would be the mini me. That me does not exist. I have no choice, and nobody is trying to make a choice. The thing that tries to make a choice comes later. That's in the process. That is not, that's the thinking. That's our, yeah, anyway. So when the process begins, it is as physics describes it and so on. Like, that's the best model of the world to me, like to explain through laws of nature. It's not through intention that things happen. And it's not when the teachings around desire, we can touch on them, but that's meant for the process to figure things out and to stop wasting energy around going around in circles. But awareness does not desire. Awareness does not have any thoughts. And that's why the sub-process can get so confusing, right? There's no counter voice saying, oh, you are not me. It is in the process that the voice might start to say, oh, this is not me. And it's still all going on in the process. But awareness is silence. There's no thoughts, no experience, nothing, until a process produces something. And then there's no one to say, no, I don't want this process to produce this.
So who is it that has desire?
The desire is within because there's a self-image that is fueling certain kinds of thinking, right? So it's all happening as part of the process. Those teachings are trying to pick apart what's wrong with the sub-process, because as long as there's a self-image of me in the world, then there's desire. I want to have something for myself, for my family, and so on, right? And
So
that is
it's almost like the sub-process is almost like it is aware. It has these qualities that I mean, that's the part that gets stuck. Like, if awareness is not, yeah, you're right. I mean, on one hand, awareness is like, you can't have desire, because the moment you talk about that, it becomes duality. But who is it that has desire? Like, it's like a sub-process. If a sub-process has desire, it's almost like it's conscious, right?
no. So desire is the experience of something that goes on in that process, right? Who owns the desire? Nobody does. But because of that self-image, certain kinds of thinking happens. Even the thinking is experienced. That's not what actually is happening. Yeah. What's happening is more complicated than the final thought that appears. It's like if you think of multiple levels in a network, you only experience the top level. And there's lots of computation going on. And at the end thing that you experience, we call it thought, right? That's the experience of the thought. But desire is an experience which has gone through lots of that chains through that network. And there's experience. We call it desire, because you know the feeling. The feeling of desire is urge. For me, I need this, right? And what's happening is, in these teachings, because the one who has seen it, they're not talking to a person. Yeah, you're either talking to the awareness itself, you're pointing to the awareness. Wake up. This is what you are. And because who is aware of the thoughts, who is listening, that is awareness. You can do that. There is a way to transmit right back to the source. The other is we're pruning the process. We're snipping little bits of the process, redefining concepts, cutting apart the dualities, and then the process sorts itself out. So those are the two angles, but there's no where all those attacks on desire are not for someone to stop desiring, because that's not possible. Like, and we probably all have some kind of addiction, and some of us might have serious addictions, right? And as you have that, like from the outside, all the advice seems just absurd. There's no one who can suddenly stop being addicted, right? Until you have addiction, you know who's gonna stop and how, right? Some significant change somehow has to take place in the physical apparatus. Yeah. Or there might be a new desire which destroys the old desire. But it's not somebody who can true intention and willpower. Those are things which are based on the idea of individual selves who have agency, who can do this and that. All right, we might circle back. We'll let JS speak now.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I hope you can hear me. First
Yep.
of all, thank you so much. Thank you for the silence I've experienced since the last time we spoke. And I just wanted to ask, what was your process? What process were you going, going through internally before you came to your realization that moment? As I mentioned, I think you remember I mentioned I had this spiritual experience, but at the time, my process, I didn't take any substances. I didn't even know about enlightenment. I was just obsessed with the mantra. Every single second that I had awareness, I would just chant this mantra, refusing to entertain any thoughts. And then I had the experience, but now I find I can't sustain that. But what is happening now is I am becoming aware even of awareness. And now the psychological mind is losing its power. And especially since our last meeting and talking to you, I think I left a comment, when you look back, you realize it's just all the mind, you're just tangled up in it. But I'm just curious to know your process, because I'm very methodical. So maybe I can just copy and paste.
That's the problem. There's no copy and paste option. There's no formula, right? There's no formula. It's see, when whatever realization you have, at that point, then you look, and the whole of your life led up to that realization. Yeah, everything bad that happened, it all helped get you to that cliff and then nudge you over.
Yes. And even now, I see the psychological mind is actually helping me. Like without it, I feel I would go below thoughts. And sometimes I do go below thoughts. And then when it bites, I become aware again. And then start inquiring. But I wonder if it's all the mind again.
I mean, the one thing that was the core of it, which is an open secret, is self-inquiry, right? It's that's the only thing, and whatever experiences or whatever insights you have, that depends. Because it's just one point being pointed out. You are not in the process. You are prior to it, and everything that whatever points you back to it, that's helpful. And the one thing that does root you in that is self-inquiry, because we get the sub-process itself now, at least a portion of it, we're going to dedicate it to looking back, try to look back. And when it does that, it'll just wind itself up.
Yes.
And it's you are always there. You're always aware. You're always present. As that sinks in, that you are not in the world, you're not a body, you're not this and that. What's left is quite clear, right? My own process is a long story and this and that. So we don't want to waste the whole hour on that. You probably listened to it in the videos. There's a few critical points, but that's again looking at it maybe the wrong way, right? Because everything led up to that point. Every single point in this life. And was it important? What if that didn't happen? And this life ends like the normal way? Or this life, you realize something and later on you get dementia and you're old and you forget everything. What has changed? It's just the story of one life. And the realization, like I said before, is just the scope is global. It has nothing to do with this one life.
Just thank you so much. I just want to share something interesting. I wanted to join the last call. It was at 3 my time, but I had to be up at 5. So I said, I won't put the alarm, but if I wake up at 2:30, it'll be a sign. I woke up at 2:37 in the morning, but then my mind started, I just want to expose this as well, saying that you'll get too addicted to the energy and then you won't be able to do it yourself. You're hitchhiking on his energy. But because my mind had been so silent ever since the other call, and every time it came up, I was able to see it, and it went down. But then he said, no, you can do this by yourself. You don't need anyone because you did it before. So I just want to expose that as well, because then I went back to sleep. I woke up again at 3 and then said that my mind said the same thing. No, you don't need any of this. You're fine. You can do this. Plus you'll get addicted to the energy, and then that'll be another thing that you'll have to undo.
Hmm.
So I wonder
Yeah.
if that's just the mind, or is there reality in it?
So, I mean, those thoughts are well, they are wise, right? What is going to lay out the path for you? It is the mind, right? In the process. That's what I mean when you realize your whole life, all the missteps, all the bad stuff, all the things you thought you did wrong, they lead up to the realization.
Yes.
Who are you going to blame? That's the story being laid out in this life. Right? Like you go to a concert, if you know the composer, you go very confidently, you love it, you know it.
Mhm.
Who is writing the script here? There's no God to hate. There's no me that exists.
Mhm.
So you have to trust the script. It's writing itself. It's amazing. Let's enjoy it.
Yes.
And what the script was saying is correct. You don't need to depend on me. Now, whatever energy you feel is coming from here is actually the energy of the mind. It is
Mhm.
experience. Yeah. You look up to someone, people start screaming if it's Michael Jackson or whatever. Right? That's just the fan power. In
Yeah.
the spiritual circle, it goes to the guru.
Yes.
But you're right. It's all about turning inwards, not depending on anything.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Bharat.
Namaste, Nabil. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Hello, everyone. This is the first time I'm joining one of your groups. From the outset, I just want to say I've seen all your videos. I think they're absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't really have any questions, but I just wanted to make some small observations. Um, I couldn't agree with you more, Nabil. This whole aspect of having this concept of a sub-process.
Mhm.
Straight away, that sub-process is appearing to what? What is noticing that sub-process that gets it, that doesn't get it? Like, I think you beautifully mentioned in one of your videos, like clouds in the sky. That sub-process is no different to clouds in the sky. So it's nothing to be scared of. The fact that you are experiencing the sub-process malfunctioning in any particular way it proves that you are awareness. Another example is a metaphor of looking in a mirror. When you look in a mirror, you see your face, but that face is just a reflection of who you are. You, as the original face, are before the image of your own face. Whether you like your face or you don't like your face, you are actually not that face. What that means is that face is nothing but you, but you are not that face. You are prior to that face. Finally, I just wanted to mention about what you said earlier, excuse me, about no separation. 100 million%, no separation. If there is no separation, why do we feel separated? A way to answer this question is to bring in the concept of ignorance. If there is no separation, but we feel it, it must be because I'm ignorant of it. But what that subtly implies is that there never was separation. I'm not sure whether that subtle
Mm.
point has come in. There never was a separation, it's just that I didn't know it. So, what does that mean for me? That means actually everything, what my mind is telling me, what's going around me, is perfectly okay. How do I know it's perfectly okay? Because I choicelessly experience it. And in deep sleep, I'm fast asleep. It's a wonderful experience without any process or sub-process or notions of duality. I'm totally fine. I just wanted to say that I set my alarm clock here in London. It's these meetings start at 6. I normally wake up at 5. I thought I set my alarm clock for 5, but I hadn't. I made a mistake. But I just like the previous speaker. Somehow at 5 a.m. I was up. So I'm glad to be here. So the process, that sub-process, is nothing to be scoffed at or rejected. It does work, and it's a source of extreme bliss. That notion of bliss, of enjoyment, is precisely why in our own ignorance we desire these experiences from sub-process. From a basis of ignorance, we desire. I just wanted to add those thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, the clouds one is good. It's just like clouds, right?
Yep.
Nobody hates clouds. Nobody expects asked more of them. They look like they look, right? Sometimes they
No,
change, they go away.
I think the answer is in your statement, no body, no body. And it's really interesting. I always found it amusing when in natural language we say words like my mind. Straight away that talks about the mind in the third person. Who is that saying that the mind is possessed? Who is that possessor that possesses? So every time we say, oh, my mind was all over the place, straight away you're indicating you're not that. Language is really instructive if you just notice the way one is speaking or the words which are heard, you actually see that there is no separation at all. There is only that level of oneness, of awareness of what's being said, what's being observed, what's being enjoyed, what's being done, what's being experienced, choicelessly all the time.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that self-inquiry does for those who really get obsessed with it is when the thought my mind comes, immediately there's a counter thought, who. And just that, or it might not even be a word, but in that split second, it's exposed. Oh, just a thought, not my mind. Like that was whose mind? And it's again, you go back to what you have understood. The realization is once, and then like in the one of the calls we talked about washing your bowls, right? We're cleaning up. It's just that
I
one
really
realization is cleaning up.
I really like the washing bowl example. I've never heard about that particular Zen koan. I'm not following Zen koan. Um, I I did post on your YouTube channel. I had a slightly different interpretation of washing bowl. That the gruel is a teaching, and eventually the master says, "Wash your bowl out." That means to drop everything, including what you feel you've learned or not learned. Drop everything. Make your bowl empty and make it empty of emptiness. Drop everything to speak.
Thank you. All right, let's head to Amit.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
First of all, I want to deeply thank you for helping the one remember itself and being this helpful for so many people. I am going to try and challenge the one, and I wrote down my thoughts yesterday to have it a little bit more organized. So let me just read it. I don't know if you will be able to see me at the same time, but I'll read it. So experience is change. When there is no change, there is no experience. Change requires the illusion of time. Consciousness is what allows any experience or no experience, which means it has to create the illusion of time for it to have any experience. Hence, any experience is always an illusion. Obviously, when anything is an illusion, then there is no difference between real and fake. In state of non-duality, the illusion of time dissolves. Hence, there is no experience whatsoever. There isn't even non-duality in non-duality, or a watcher or experiencer. Once feeling of time is back, hence there is an experience, the experience can be seen as nothingness for eternity, being nothing, nothing having any experience, or everythingness, being everything at the whole time for eternity, or somehow both at the same time. Well, my question is, how can we ever truly know that it ends there? Maybe that's the deepest we can get in our reality, and maybe not. But I mean, first of all, it doesn't help whatsoever, and there is no need for it, but it can very much just be a dream and a dream and a dream, going up endlessly, with or without a place you can call out of the dream. And secondly, can we ever truly know ourselves, the dreamer, if when there is no experience, there is only nothingness and everythingness? Or can we only know the dream, although obviously the dreamer is the dream? Obviously, you can just point me to who is the one asking the question and dwell into the I am, and in that state of non-duality, all concepts, all questions, places to go to, questioners, and everything just dissolves. But the thing is, when you really are yourself, you have no experience whatsoever. So how can you know anything about yourself experientially besides states of knowing yourself as the dream? Thank you.
Sure. So, yes, logically it sounds correct. However, reality is real, is what is most real, right? It's not, there's no point where reality would be absent. The dream is a superimposition. Yeah. Even if you're in a dream and a dream and a dream, that's what is real is there to find out. How would you find out? The various ways. One is just if you're approaching it from the angle you've set up, right? You go to that nothingness, right? Whatever that means. We've discussed it a few times now. Shut down. Watch the process start up, right? So whatever a dream appears, a dream in the dream appears, whatever. If you shut it down and then start up, you can watch the simulation appear. As it appears, you don't look at the simulation. The question of self-inquiry arises. What am I at this point? When the whole simulation has disappeared, it's just starting up now. What am I at that point?
There is
And
no
the
one to
answer
ask
is,
it at the moment. There is no simulation. There is no one to ask it.
yeah, there's no, the one is there, but there's nothing, the question is not there. The experience, nothing, who would ask a question, right? But when the simulation starts, this is, I'm talking from what happened, right? There's records of cessation and so on. So I'm talking about cessation. There's two ways I approached it. One is while approaching, coming out from deep sleep. The other one was in meditation. What happens is you've reached that point where, yeah, there's nothing, no time, no me, no nothing, right? But then it starts back. And when it starts back, because the mind has been trained to continuously inquire, the first thing it does as the process starts is it inquires, what am I at this point? And then it's pretty clear that I did not exist. That I is destroyed. That I is now booting up. So it did not exist. But what then is I is immediately clear. And then that I is the reality which must be there at any level of the dream. If we 10 dreams down, like Inception, doesn't matter, because that I is purely aware. That is the only quality. And at this point, there's no difference between being aware and being not aware. And being something and nothing. It has all equalized. The only difference is, I think, as in what you were reading out, is that everything and something and experience and nothing, it's all now shown how they are identical. The only difference is we're tweaking certain things. Oh, now there's light. Ooh, now there's this tickling feeling and whatever. But all those are just pulling little bits of what was already there, which is just awareness, the infinite potential to create any kind of experience. And that is
right. So I get what you're saying. I definitely agree with it, that what the I is that, using your word, awareness, that allows any experience or no experience. But the problem is, it's not a problem, there is no problem, but once you observe yourself as nothing else but that awareness, once there is nothing else but that awareness, since there is no duality to experience the awareness, you can't really know the awareness, but be it.
So the you is, you're flipping the you there, right? That you, that is not the awareness. I like the person, the me, the Nabil, that one was just, yeah, that got put in its place. That is not the thing that is aware, right? You're realizing what is aware is the ultimate reality itself is aware, not a person or a thing. So the question of am I real, is this real, that still applies to the dream character. But there's no question that reality exists, right? For there to be simulation.
The question is more on the level of, can awareness know itself? Besides experience.
All of this is awareness knowing itself. Who else is knowing all this? Is it a person is knowing all this and then awareness is not aware, right? No. Awareness is aware of all this, and all this is awareness. So that statement itself is again, it's a bit confused, because who else is aware, right? That's why all of this is the manifestation of reality, right? Reality has taken shape. Emptiness is form, and form is emptiness. And who is aware of the forms except for emptiness, right? Now, one thing I want to point out, though, is, look, there's no question that there is a reality, right? Even for a dream or a simulation to appear, there has to be reality.
An experience.
No, not experience. Just the base reality needs to be there for anything else to be possible, to exist, right? For a dream to appear, how would a dream appear if there's just absolute nothing and no reality? Like, what, can we even talk about there being no reality?
We can talk about it,
but it's absurd, isn't it?
But as I see it and as I experience it, there is absolutely no difference between no reality, nothing, nothingness, and everythingness. Both are, you can call it 0 and 1, but both are non-duality, one and the same.
Yeah. And in that insight of non-duality, what you're finding out is that I as a person, as me, as whatever I thought of as I, is not the thing that is aware. That was just a collection of phenomena. And what is aware is that most fundamental base reality, right? So that just kind of kills off the question. It just kills it off. There's no question of unreality or reality, not knowing reality.
Right. going down to non-duality would dissolve all questions whatsoever. That's sure, for sure. But how could you be certain there is a reality when you're speaking physically, when you're speaking like, I don't get it. Maybe I'm missing you.
So if there was, what do you mean? How can there be doubt that there is a reality? Because there's this experience right now, isn't it? Even if it's a
There is
dream, the dream exists.
Does it have to exist somewhere?
It's not about somewhere, right? The where can be an illusion, but reality must be, the basis for the illusion must be there.
Well,
any illusion, it has,
obviously, if everything is an illusion, then everything is real, because there is no difference, no distinction between real and illusion when everything is one thing. But
no,
yeah, I
that's
mean, it doesn't
not
matter
like
what you
that.
call it.
That can come later. But what I'm trying to point out is, even for an illusion to be possible, you need something more fundamental that is more real to be there first. It's not possible to have an illusion. Like, you cannot have a dream. Let's take a human dream. You cannot have a dream without a human brain, let's say. You cannot have a mirror illusion without the mirror, right? You cannot have experience without something more fundamental, right? So the question is, what is real, but not that is there a reality? Because that answers itself, because of as soon as there's experience, whatever that is, whether it's an illusion or not, it has proven that there is reality.
So what
It
is real? I would definitely say awareness is real. That's the only thing that is real. But what is there a reality? That's a one question I think you can doubt.
All right, we're using it differently then. That's fine. When you say awareness is definitely real, then that is your reality. Yeah, that is your reality. That is real, yes.
Right. I guess I understand you, and we are pointing at the same thing.
Yeah, we were just saying that there's a fundamental point, right, which cannot be denied. As soon as there's experience, it's proven. You don't need to think. You don't need to have higher thought. It has been proven, whether you think about it or not. The proof is in the moment, in the...
Right. I do get your answer, but I still feel like that awareness, since it is all there is, creates that illusion to know itself as duality, but it still is just one non-duality, and it can never know itself as itself alone, and not as
That's still thinking of
illusion of
awareness.
split.
That's diverged quite. That's gone into thinking of awareness as having thoughts or intentions, wanting to know itself or not. Right? Awareness is simultaneously containing all of the illusions, all dream worlds, all minds at the same time. Right? Any dream, a dream within a dream, all of that is within awareness. Right? So there's no question of awareness knowing itself in a, that's not awareness. That's thinking of a global mind aware of all the experience at the same time, which is not what awareness is, right? Because you've got two. One way you're speaking of is quite close to truth. One is there's still a bit of that you're thinking of it like a mind, but it's not a mind, right? This doesn't have intentions. It's not. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
and
because it
every
has,
experience
yeah.
in that sense is awareness, knowing, awareness, right? Because as you said, there's nothing else.
Yeah,
But it's
which
not knowing in
is
the sense of, oh,
everything
this is
there is,
me. Yeah. Yeah.
which is everything there is. There is only awareness, knowing awareness, but
But
yeah,
not knowing in
correct,
the sense that a
correct.
human being wants to know the truth. It's not knowing in that sense.
Right, right. Only once a duality is back, there is that question, obviously. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
fair
because
enough.
then the small process, the sub process wants to know the higher reality, and that is just a impossible task. It's not going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mawa here. You're on mute. You're on mute. There
Yeah,
we
I
go.
think. Hi, hi.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. So, continuing that same Amit previous question, I think it could be something to do with the framework currently we have. We are expecting everything as an objective experience. This may be the awareness is correct. We will be. I mean, we are having. It's a new framework of we are taking it as a subjectivity. There is no objectivity. So like like now if a color is coming on the awareness, like we just a new color appeared. When that pattern is, when we are naming it as red, it becomes the objective, or we make that abstraction where we became that we make that partition, subject and object. But when the a new color comes, so we just it just known as me or inside me, but there is no definition or no abstraction, and that means is it, I mean, is the subjective experience of it?
Didn't quite get the question actually. But
No, I mean, from the previous question what he was asking the Amit. So I mean, we tend to make everything we tend to see in an objective way, but
yeah.
it's a different realm completely, because it's we are going to know everything as subjective only. So
Yes.
in so in
Yes.
that case, for example, a red color appears. Now normally we are a color appears. It's a pattern. It's a new pattern. So now we have given a definition for it as red. So now when if a new color comes, I mean, into the appearance, if it gets appeared, we just okay, we are aware of a new pattern, but when we go to name it, we make the partition of duality. Is that correct? When we give a label for it, we can
Sure.
stay on that experience as it's a new color. I mean, it's the same movement really. There is no two different movement we experience, but when we are trying to define it, we make the duality. Until that, we are just it's just known the initial known stage. Is that correct?
It's true to an extent. If there's a lot of conceptual overlay, that's creating all kinds of dualities, right? Where it's you could and as you start to take away the overlay, then you can say, oh, there's only seeing, there's only hearing, and then you go, oh, there's only experience, and there's only consciousness. So you're going back from the concepts. But there still remains, it's not only that, there's still deeper dualities like consciousness and unconsciousness, existence and inexistence, right? So it's a good first step. Like when we start to follow these traditions to talk about, okay, don't refer to the thinking mind and conceptual mind and so on, but the job is still not done. So it goes a bit deeper still. But yes, it is. Papa, like, I want this one. You've got some kids listening to all this crazy stuff.
Sorry.
No, that's good. So it is true that the thinking mind or the sub process, the selfing process, It's trying to cast everything into objects, concepts it knows of, right? But in reality, everything is subjective. And what we found is the base reality is just the basis of subjectivity. It's like pure subjectivity. And you can never get to an actual real object. There's only probability distributions and so on. Right? So
Yeah. So it's all these days, whatever the experience we have had is like objectively we see anything. So this is completely a new way of seeing the things as subjectively.
yeah.
This,
But
so can't expect to be the same way it is how it was before.
Yeah, so one thing though is don't expect that the labeling has to stop, the thinking has to completely pause, right? What happens is that could still be going on, but you know what is the fundamental essence, what I'll call the essence of mind. Like you've understood. Now we can name it all kinds of things, sure, you can make all kinds of distinctions, but it remains that. It is still awareness. It's just we're talking about different aspects, different dimensions, and so on. And then there's the aspect of surrender, right? When that sub-process now has also reckoned with the realization that I am not the thing that's conscious, because it assumed it was. The thought process had assumed it was the thing that's conscious. It's not. It's just the thought process. And then there's that surrender. Now it can ask itself, do I even know what red is? Because that's a bunch of neurons which have no idea what red is. They're just language. It's just the thinking part of the brain. There's another part which knows what red is. And the surrender is in realizing the voice comes up, oh, I'm just a thought. This is just a thought. And it's not that this is just a thought. I who thought I was speaking, am just a thought. And then the surrender is to one who is experiencing, who knows what red is, and who knows this thought. That is the awareness. And that is why I cannot say awareness does not know itself, because each life is that awareness knowing awareness. Who else has the power to understand the thought? The thoughts don't know themselves. They don't know red.
Yeah, known it is, but it's not with the label how we interpret it now. And we have given a meaning for it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So we have given a meaning like this with the definitions, right? For the patterns.
So the meaning
Yeah.
is still only meaningful when it appears in awareness, when it's understood by the awareness, right? If it's just a word, it has no inherent meaning. There's an experience to go with it. When I say rose, you can talk about rose. You know what a rose is. The experience is there and the word is matched to it, right? But who hears the word and knows that experience and knows the memory? That is you. That is the actual real you. And that is the one who noticed the experience begin, which is what the talk we began with, right? What is life? Life is that the process started to produce experiences. And you are the one who began to know those experiences. And that is what is called awareness. And to the conceptual thinking mind, that is the same as nothing. Because it doesn't have any properties, right? It's not colorful. It doesn't have sounds and thoughts and feelings. It's the basis of all that.
Thank you. That's clear.
All right. Any last comments or questions? Yep. Jess? Or is it Bharat you wanted to go again?
Oh, sorry.
I think he just left his hand up. That's all right. You can go.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to ask, is it possible for all of us, everyone, to have self-realization if we earnestly seek it? Or is it all predestined? And then I have something else as well to ask. Maybe I'll ask all together.
Mhm.
And then as well, I'm sure maybe it's just me, but when I had I keep going to the experience, but when I had the experience, when I came back, I could see clearly how people talk from their psychological mind, from their ego. And I was so excited to give them the good news and tell them, but nobody was hearing me. They just thought I was crazy. Then I went back to my own ego mind, my own psychological mind. But then since the last few calls, and since I've been getting earnest again, even listening to myself sometimes feels uncomfortable. But the more I inquire, the more I communicating with people, I feel like I'm cheating them and I'm cheating myself, because I see it's just two psychological minds, egos communicating with. And then sometimes I feel like most of the things I say are just frivolous, unnecessary. Because when I am in that place of silence, it's truly silence. There is nothing to say other than sometimes just cry when because of so much beauty. So I wonder, and then when I get sucked into the psychological mind, I think maybe it's not destined to happen in this lifetime for me. I don't know, I scare myself. So I wonder, is it possible for anyone who seeks?
All right. So the funny answer, look, what you are is what you are, and you are what you are, right? Who's going to realize the selfing process can never realize the higher reality? Never. Impossible. It's not even conscious, right? But you who are conscious, to you it is being pointed out what you are. So it's not hard. It can definitely, in fact, it's already happening. Every experience is telling you what you are. It's not telling it in words. It's saying you're aware. That's what every experience, if we translate it into words, that's what it's telling you. You are aware. And all this talk is about the glory of awareness, how fundamental it is, how it is not an object, it is not possessed by things, right? So on the one hand, you are self-realized. Every experience has helped you realize you are aware. That is self-knowledge. Being aware is self-knowledge. It's not a word kind of knowledge. It's not thought-based knowledge. It's the most obvious self-evident knowledge. That is self-knowledge. The other hand, there's this thought process going on, the selfing process, and it wants to realize the self. How can a thought process realize something that is beyond thought? That is the basis of thought. It's not going to happen. So that part we have to give up. And when you say you're talking to people and going into ego and so on, that is again deferring to that wrong view of awareness, that the people and so on, right? Their process is interacting. Like I said, there are some processes, sub-processes, where the question arises, what am I?
Yeah.
And those are rare. And even among those, when you try to communicate, it's hard because the process comes with a lot of package that you got to prune. But if you try to communicate to some process where there's just no interest in the question, right? There's a world in which it's built and it's interacting in that and so on. So there's only so much you can say.
Yeah.
There's no need to say much. Because the one who is aware of even the most tedious process, or even the experience of an insect, who is that? Who is it? That is the self. And even if there's no thought telling the self that you are this and that, doesn't matter. Realization is pointless in a way. What did we realize? Who realized what? The self is always the self.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry, was there a comment? I saw something in the chat. Okay. All right. We might end there today. But thank you all for the interesting conversation. Yeah,
Thank-
hope we prune some branches there, and we'll be seeing you again.
Thank you, Nabil.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nabil.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nabil. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.